Developing tonight on To the Point. An hours-long standoff ends in tragedy. 2 people found dead inside of a home. The new details about a suspect and the investigation. Plus, funding cuts.
California food banks are facing federal and state cuts. How that will impact local food banks and their distribution plans.
Long wait times at Folsom Lake. The new boating requirements to know before hitting the water. And later on the back roads, we head to Carlsbad to see a century-old family dream that's still blooming.
Thank you for joining us on To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. We start tonight with developing news. 2 people were found dead inside of a home following a 6-hour-long standoff in Sacramento. It started around 11:30 last night off 71st Street, and the standoff ended around 5:30 this morning. I want to get out to ABC 10's Garshpal Sangha, who joins us live from the neighborhood tonight. Garshpal, what are you really learning about what happened in this incident?
But unfortunately ending in tragedy. Now, police vehicles are still here on scene, not as many as they were earlier this morning, but right now they're just overseeing crews members who are here boarding up the house. Now, Sacramento police say they got the call from a woman who ran to a neighbor's house saying a man inside her home had a gun. When officers arrived at the scene here on 71st Street, they heard at least 1 gunshot. They immediately set up a perimeter and began speaking with the man inside. And after hours of standoff, a man later identified as 44-year-old Manfred Shield walked out of the house and was taken into custody just before sunrise. And once officers made their way inside the home, they found 2 people, a man and a woman, both dead from gunshot wounds. And we spoke to one person who lives nearby and heard their disturbance late last night.
Tragic was the exact word that I used, because I mean, it's hard to think that you could have maybe prevented it or done something about it, and it's just so hard to wrap your mind around or to understand like why it got to this point. Like clearly there was something wrong, and why it had to end like this instead of some other way is just, it's confusing and tragic.
And right now, police haven't released the names of the victims or their relationship to the man now in custody. Police say he is now facing suspicion of homicide charges, and we did ask police if the person arrested had any criminal history. All they told us at this point is that they knew who he was. Reporting live from Sacramento, Garshpal Sangha, ABC 10.
All right, Garshpal, as always, thank you so much. We'll continue to follow this story. New details tonight in the deadly shooting at Florida State University. The 20-year-old son of a sheriff's deputy opened fire at the university on Thursday, killing 2 men and wounding at least 6 others. Tonight, ABC's Faith Abube is speaking with one of the victims who is still in the hospital.
The chaotic scene unfolding just before noon Thursday near the Student Union building at Florida State University. Students and professors barricading themselves inside classrooms as a gunman opened fire. Investigators also analyzing new video, which appears to show a man stopping, turning toward people, then followed by the sound of gunshots. I spoke with grad student Madison Askins, who says she played dead after being shot.
I know for certain if I was moving, he would have shot me again.
What is it like thinking about that?
The thing is in that moment, it was more calm, out of body. There were no tears, there were no panics. It was just, what can I do to handle the situation?
The suspect, identified as Phoenix Eichner, a 20-year-old FSU student whose stepmother is a veteran deputy with the local sheriff's department. Authorities say the handgun he allegedly used belonged to her. Police tell us they shot the suspect after he ignored repeated commands to drop his weapon. He was taken away by ambulance with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators now searching for a motive.
New tonight, President Donald Trump is starting the process of reclassifying 50,000 federal employees under what's known as Schedule F. And it means these workers will have less civil service protection and could be easier to fire. The proposal follows an executive order Trump signed shortly after retaking the presidency. And also, after the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced funding cuts that impact local food banks, tonight cuts are now being planned at the Yolo County Food Bank. As ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shows us, it's not just federal cuts, but state cuts that are forcing the nonprofit to make some difficult decisions.
We serve about over 30,000 households a month.
Since the pandemic and rising cost of goods and food, the Yolo Food Bank in Woodland says they have seen an 18% increase in need at their public distributions. But with the rising need comes cutbacks. The Yolo Food Bank says they felt ready for the USDA's reduced future funding for the Emergency Food Assistance Program and the funding ending through the Local Food Purchase Assistance Program.
We were already bracing ourselves for our ARP funds, which are American Rescue Plan funds, to be sunsetting come this end of fiscal year, which ends for us June 30th.
But the governor's proposed budget for this year also presents cuts to food banks, allocating only $8 million statewide. With the possibility of losing money from the federal government and the state, the Yolo Food Bank says it is expecting to lose more than $2 million from its $5.1 million budget.
Now we give every household about 45 pounds of food. That likely is going to go down to 35 pounds, and we'll likely be looking at our distributions and consolidating some distributions.
This was the one area where I knew we couldn't afford the budget cut.
Democratic Assemblymember Stephanie Nguyen says she's working to provide more support to food banks pending the final budget.
The request was to have $60 million ongoing each year starting 2025 to 2026 budget year. This breaks down to the $8 million that the governor is already proposing.
As the Yolo Food Bank prepares for the worst, it's doing what it can to ensure the community is going to receive the resources it needs.
We basically are in a position where we're having to raise, over $2 million between now and July 1.
All right, Janie, so how concerned should families really be about this?
Well, Alex, the food bank says they don't want people to be alarmed because they will still be providing food to families in need. However, they will be aggressively fundraising in an upcoming event on May 1st called Big Day of Giving. Their goal is to raise $150,000 to feed more than 9,300 families. Details on this event can be found on our website at abc10.com.
All right, Janie, thank you so much. And again, another story that we will follow. But coming up next on To The Point, before you plan that boating trip this weekend, what you need to know about inspections at some of our most popular lakes.
It'll be a good weekend for boating. Temperatures going to be in those low 80s for the holiday weekend before we start to drop temperature next week. Forecast after the break.
And later on the back roads, we are heading to Carlsbad to see the colorful and iconic flower bloom, how it's blossomed into a family legacy. To be aware of before you go out onto the water. So California State Parks has launched a new mandatory inspection and quarantine program aimed at preventing the spread of an invasive species known as the golden mussel. The program, which also affects Lake Clementine, requires all trailered and motorized vessels to be inspected, sealed, and quarantined before entering the water. We spoke to a park ranger about what you should do beforehand.
Making sure your boat is clean, drained, and dry. Making sure that your plugs are pulled out of your boat, that your boat is completely dry. Open up all your compartments, make sure all your life jackets are clean, your anchor, all those things are pretty much spotless. Because those are the things that we're going to be looking for.
The inspection process is free and operates on a first-come, first-served basis. Turning to your weather now, it was an absolutely beautiful day across our area. Let's get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchev with your weekend forecast.
Well, if you liked what we had today, you're going to like what we've got for this weekend. This week was quite a lot of up and down, though, I got to be honest. We made it to 89 on Monday. This is the warmest day we had so far this year. Then we had 3 days in a row. The middle part of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, were all in the low 70s in Sacramento. But yesterday, the San Joaquin Valley was in the 60s. And then today, we're right back near 80 degrees again, above average by several degrees. So it's been up and then down, and now we're back up once again. Made it to 80 in Sacramento today, 75 in Modesto, 78 in Stockton, 75 Tracy, 78 in Fairfield, 79 Vacaville, 79 Marysville, 66 Placerville, and 50s in the high country. Currently in those upper 70s and even some mid 70s still down in the San Joaquin Valley. So definitely still warm out there, running above average for the time of year. We have a little bit of a northerly breeze that's helping to keep us warm as opposed to those cooling Delta breezes that we sometimes see. 74 at the top of the hour, 65 by 9 o'clock, 59 degrees at 11 o'clock. Clear tonight. It will be a bit cool as well. We're going to be in those mid-40s for parts of the valley. Should be closer to 50 for the time of year, so it is going to be a little bit chilly out there to start your Saturday morning. But Saturday afternoon, we're right back near 80 degrees, 80 in Sacramento, 81 Modesto, 81 Manteca, 81 Stockton, 82 up in Colusa, 70s in the foothills. A little bit of a Delta breeze potentially this evening in the San Joaquin Valley, and then tomorrow we get a much nicer Delta breeze around the region. Through the holiday weekend, climbing from the low to mid 70s in the foothills, near 60 degrees in the Sierra for this weekend. And here in the valley, we are going to be in those low 80s both Saturday and Sunday with a nice Delta breeze expected both afternoons as well, Alex.
Next on To The Point, Trump's trade talks are heating up, and so is the tension with the Federal Reserve Chair he appointed. Could he fire Jerome Powell, and what it means for your wallet? Plus, a replacing an aging levee, how a new project in Stockton is working to protect homes from the next big storm. Let's jump into your price points tonight. We are learning new details about potential tariff deals, and it comes as President Donald Trump says he's optimistic about deals with both China and the EU. Jacqueline Lee has the details.
In Rome today, Vice President J.D. Vance meeting with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni the day after she met with President Donald Trump.
We think Italy can be reliable and a serious partner in Europe, in the Mediterranean area, and so we are proud to have this special relation with the U.S. and with this administration.
Trump saying from the Oval Office that he feels optimistic about reaching trade deals with the European Union and China.
We're going to have a deal. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway, because we're going to set a certain target, and that's going to be it.
China facing the highest of Trump's tariffs at 145%. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell warning President Trump's tariffs could lead to inflation and slow economic growth. Trump then continuing to criticize Powell for not lowering interest rates, calling for his dismissal despite appointing him in 2017.
I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it. And if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
Powell stating the Fed stays independent of politics and cannot be fired by the president. Democrats warning that the independency is critical to the U.S. economic ecosystem.
If Chairman Powell can be fired by the President of the United States, it will crash the markets in the United States.
Meanwhile, U.S. businesses are breathing a sigh of relief after the Trump administration announced it is slowly implementing port fees on Chinese vessels, an initial fee of $0 for the first 180 days, rather than $1 to $1.5 million per port of call. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
With the price of eggs remaining higher than usual, people are turning to candy to celebrate the Easter holiday. According to a report from the National Retail Federation, Easter candy is expected to account for about $3.3 billion in spending this year. Easter spending overall is expected to rise from $22.4 billion to $23.6 billion. A setback for home shoppers. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage has climbed to its highest level in 8 weeks. According to Freddie Mac, rates are at 6.83%. A year ago, the rate averaged 7.1%, and borrowing costs on a 15-year fixed-rate mortgages also rose 6%. A $1.39 billion project is underway in San Joaquin County to try and increase flood protection for tens of thousands of residents and more than $28 billion of property. The work started on Monday on a 10-mile area in the Brookside neighborhood. This part of the project is expected to be done by 2026. The whole project, hopefully by 2039. It is time for another trip on the back roads tonight. John Bartel is taking us to San Diego County to see the annual flower blossom that attracts thousands of people to the coastal city of Carlsbad.
pretty rare to see a farm in the middle of a bustling city, but every spring, for about 6 to 8 weeks, a field full of flowers just north of San Diego explodes with color in the coastal city of Carlsbad. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, social media influencers and their photographers line up to take their next viral posts.
The Instagram app was probably the best thing that ever happened to us, because people will come here and take photos upon photos upon photos.
Paul Ecke III is co-owner of the flower fields in Carlsbad, a family-run farm and agritourism business.
This is just bursting with color right now.
Yes.
What are these?
These are called ranunculus. Don't ask me to spell it.
The ranunculus, also known as the Persian buttercup, is a popular flower in floral arrangements, and this field is one of the largest ranunculus fields in California.
So this is a working farm. So we sell the corms, which are underneath like a bulb, and we also sell cut flowers. And so today we're harvesting cut flowers.
The ranunculus is what Paul grows today, but when his German grandfather and great-grandfather started farming in Los Angeles in the early 1900s, they ended up growing and selling a different kind of flower.
They noticed around their little town that the Mexican households had a plant called poinsettia.
The poinsettia has a long history in Mexican culture and is often gifted to loved ones during the Christmas season. Paul's grandfather and later his father were among the first to corner the poinsettia market. In the 1950s, the family moved to Carlsbad to expand the business and breed different varieties. His grandfather even gave the flower its signature nickname.
He decided it was a Christmas flower, and just like the Easter lilies, just like roses are known for Valentine's Day, poinsettias are known for Christmas.
In the late 1960s, the Ecke family started leasing their land to grow ranunculus, but by the 1990s, their small 100-acre farm couldn't produce enough flowers to be profitable.
We realized we couldn't really make money on pure farming, even by selling cut flowers. It doesn't pay the bills. So we decided to open up for the public.
Today, Paul says over 300,000 people visit the flower fields every year, and they've expanded the activities.
And it needs soil just like so. It needs soil just like so.
Educating kids about agriculture is a big focus at the farm. Visitors can learn about pollinators in the butterfly exhibit, or they can pick their own blueberries.
This is so popular that we can only open 1 day a week, because when we open this up for the public, they will strip these things bare.
The flower fields would probably be worth a lot more had it been turned into a coastal housing development, but for 3 generations, the Ecke family has stayed true to their farming traditions and shared those traditions with the community.
Everybody that walks through here has a giant smile on their face.
From the flower fields in Carlsbad, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
Absolutely gorgeous. And you can find more Bartel's Backroads destinations on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Download it to your TV completely for free. Stay with us. We're back after this break.
Wednesday, on to the point. California's high-speed rail project.
The structures are being built, construction is ongoing, and impacts are being made.
A vision decades in the making. Unlikely to finish on time and facing a budget shortfall.
What is your response to the criticism that the Inspector General has found on the high-speed rail project?
With federal funding threatened.
California's federal transportation dollars should go where it's really needed.
What does progress look like? Don't miss this special report on California's high-speed rail project Wednesday, on to the point at 6:30, only on ABC 10 and the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app.
Before we go, a heads up about a new traffic shift in the eastbound lanes of Highway 50. This will take effect starting Saturday morning. It will span from the 59th Street off-ramp to the Howe Avenue / Power Inn Road on-ramp. So if you need to exit at 59th Street, 65th Street, or Howe / Power Inn Road, make sure that you stay in the lanes, the 2 right lanes, because the 2 left lanes continue through toward Watt Avenue. Of course, we have all this information on our website. You can always find it there. As always, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have something we should be looking into, reach out to me and the team. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.